Glenn Loury here. This is the Glenn Show. Glenn and John, we're the black guys at bloggingheads.tv. I wanted to call to your attention Nikole Hannah-Jones saying, when confronted with the fact that someone was referring to the riots after the George Floyd killing as the 1619 riots, she said, "I'd wear that as a badge of honor." Okay, now I want you to consider the cast of mind, the whole deep structure of intellectual error that fuels and feeds into that moment when she takes pride, having been the instigator of the 1619 Project at the New York Times, that the riots in the city would be called the 1619, all of that. I mean, we could unpack it. We don't have time. Here's what I want to say. The riots were actually injurious to the well-being of millions of people in this country. Okay, those riots were a disaster. There's nothing good about them. Protest. The riots were a disaster. Okay, now I believe, I can't prove it, but I think mounting evidence suggests that the so-called Ferguson effect, this is Heather McDonald, everybody get mad at me because she had an idea. This is Roland Fryer, if you like. This is police depolicing voluntarily under the pressures occasioned by the angry anti-police atmosphere created in the wake of events like George Floyd. So-called defund the cops, so-called kill the pigs. So-called, I hope they die mobs out in front of a hospital where police officers who've been shot in the face are being cared for. Okay? I believe that the rise in violent crime in this country has something to do with the anti-police attitude. It's not the only thing. I think it has something to do with it. These people are costing Black lives. There, I said it. The idiocy of these people, the ideological blinkeredness, which may have an account such as you would offer, John, they couldn't help themselves, is costing lives. It's dangerous to the integrity of the republic. It's unhealthy. It deserves to be denounced, not only argued with, denounced. It's dangerous.
What do you think of the Nikole Hannah-Jones case? Because it's pretty complicated.
Okay, so I don't know all of the facts that might have gone on behind the trustees at the University of North Carolina declining to affirm the recommendation that came to them from the faculty of the School of Journalism there, that Nikole Hannah-Jones appointment, which has gone through, come with tenure as her Knight Chair appointment as professor of journalism with an emphasis on investigative reporting about race. Mm-hmm. I don't know all of what might have gone on, so it may yet be revealed that there was some direct political influence where, right-wing Republicans said, we can't let this happen because we don't like the 1619 Project. And if that is the case, I would have some concerns. But I'll say this much. There's an objective reason to think that in that essay of Nikole Hannah-Jones that introduces the 1619 Project, she gets some stuff wrong. Where serious historians, and not just one or two, but half dozen of them, have publicly said, no, your interpretation of the motivation behind the founding generation in the United States, rebellion against British rule, interpretation that a significant factor in forming their actions was a desire to continue slavery, and that therefore they are hypocrites. And that, as she says, this is almost a quote, the founding claims were wrong from the day that they were stated. And it's taken Black Americans 150 or 200 years to prove them worthy of consideration. Serious historians have said that gets it wrong, that is a significantly distorted account of what actually took place in the service of an ideological program of Nikole Hannah-Jones. That's what they have said. That's out there. Read Peter Wood's book, 1620, which is significant engagement with and critical assessment of the approach of the 1619 Project. There's a lot of reason to think that not only Nikole Hannah-Jones's essay, but other essays in that volume have some deep problems. Now, a set of trustees of a university, when confronted with an appointment, asked to extend tenure, that's lifetime of membership in the faculty, to a candidate, and informed that serious people have questions about the scholarly integrity of the major work of that candidate, it seems to me that they are within their rights to say, well, no, this is not a commitment that we want to make. And they didn't reject the appointment. They said, here, we'll give you a 5-year renewable appointment without tenure, but with the option that we can consider you for tenure if and when the appointment is renewed. Let's see what you do. So it seems to me that that's defensible on the merits, that on the merits, it would be a judgment call about whether or not the university wanted to commit itself with a lifetime appointment to a scholar whose work has been subject to withering criticism by other respected scholars in their field. That's a judgment call. It's their call. They get to make that call. Assuming that that was the grounding for the call, I would not have any objections to it. Now, the other side of this could be, look, it's a school of journalism, not a history department. It's a profession. Journalism is, just like law is a profession, or public policy analysis could be thought of, and management could be thought of as a profession. Their qualification is the outstanding record that they will have established as practitioners of the professional trade, which is being taught at this school. I think you have to credit Nikole Hannah-Jones as a person who has succeeded as a practicing journalist. She's awarded a Pulitzer Prize. She's been awarded a MacArthur Prize Fellowship. These are not nothing. These are significant achievements. And so she certainly is credible as a practicing journalist for a School of Journalism's professional faculty. And a person might also say that others who have had similar appointments, including appointments to the very same chair at UNC, University of North Carolina, have come with tenure, and therefore it's not out of bounds to think of her as a candidate for a suitable candidate for tenure. She's as good as, or maybe even better than, more distinguished and accomplished than some others who have had a similar thing. So it's not, it seems to me, unreasonable for them to have recommended tenure. But I think it also, based on the argument that I just gave, which is, okay, if you're putting her forward as a practitioner of this craft, then let's see whether or not there's malpractice in her practice of this craft. And there are very good arguments that there is malpractice in the practice of this craft, including the fact that after it was brought to her attention, first by a fact checker before publication and later by scholars and significant critical assessments that were in the public view, she continued to persist in the assertions that she had made. And she backtracked and double talked and whatnot. The Times stealth edited some of the stuff. And, we could go into chapter and verse. I'm not an expert on the Nikole Hannah-Jones saga, but I've read pieces that suggest that her conduct in that matter was less than entirely honorable. She's a lightning rod. Her presence on Twitter is fairly controversial and whatnot. So I can see how a board of trustees might have reached a decision. Well, maybe not at this time that we're going to grant tenure. I think that's a defensible decision. But I think precluding her purely because you don't like her politics would be wrong.